I had the privilege of flying out to Bungie HQ to try out and capture footage of a bunch of brand new weapons releasing in the Edge of Fate so that I could show them all to you today. So let's check them out. Starting with my favorite weapon that I got to try at the event, we have the brand new Graviton Spike Exotic Energy Hand Cannon, which can actually be swapped between arc and stasis by using the special reload on the gun. And anytime you swap elements, it refunds 3 bullets into your magazine. The reason for this is because you'll notice, looking at the dots below this weapon, that by landing precision shots or final blows with one element, you can empower the shots of the opposite element. When you reach 3 stacks in its arc configuration, it will stasis overload the hand cannon to make your stasis shots create crystals upon landing precision hits or final blows. On the other side of the elements, when you reach 3 stacks in the stasis configuration, it will arc overload the hand cannon to make your arc shots call down bolts of lightning upon landing precision hits or final blows, effectively making this a handheld Thunderlord. So the gist of this hand cannon, if you are playing perfectly, is that you land 3 precision shots in arc to overload your stasis shots, swap it to stasis to reload the 3 bullets you just shot, and then land 3 precision shots in stasis to expend your stasis overcharge and create a bunch of stasis crystals and ready up your arc overcharge. Then, what I love about this hand cannon most, you'll swap back to arc and land precision shots to call down the arc lightning bolts, which actually have a blast radius large enough to destroy the stasis crystals that you just made from the stasis overcharge to get off some shatter damage. This bad boy is basically if you took Sunshot and made an arc version of it and a stasis version of it and then smushed them together. It's absolutely insane. The next exotic weapon coming in the Edge of Fate is the 3rd iteration, a Void primary ammo energy scout rifle that fires a spread of void projectiles, where aiming down sights narrows the spread. This weapon also has an exotic trait called amalgamation rounds, where aiming down sights for a short period without firing, similar to perks like box breathing, compresses the 3-bullet spread into a single projectile and marks the target that it hits. This weapon then deals significantly increased damage to marked targets, and defeating marked targets with a precision final blow or defeating any target with a precision final blow with a compressed amalgamation round grants invisibility and true sight. This weapon does extremely respectable damage for a primary ammo weapon, especially to targets marked by your amalgamation rounds. The real appeal to this weapon, though, is that it is an invis machine, where if you play properly, you can legitimately go invisible on every single bullet that you fire out of the weapon if it results in an amalgamation round precision final blow. It's a very precise and surgical scout rifle that rewards patient and controlled players. This weapon also has a rather unique reload, where instead of exchanging the typical mag, you need to cool it down. It will slowly cool down, refunding bullets to the mag very slowly as you hold it out and don't shoot it for a while, or you can quickly cool it down by pressing the reload button to cool the vents of the weapon. Finally, for the exotics we were allowed to capture footage of at the event, we have the new Land Beyond, but you already know about that and have likely even used this weapon. What is new, though, is the catalyst for this weapon, which will only become available once the Edge of Fate launches, and this catalyst turns this weapon into an absolute animal. The catalyst reads that while this weapon is at high stacks of the Master, new rounds are continually loaded into the magazine, and the benefits from Bullseye Bolster last longer. In testing, I noticed that at 20 stacks, aka when the Master buff turns into the Grandmaster buff, the gun simply auto-loads any reserve bullet into the magazine so that your magazine is permanently full, aka you never need to reload the weapon, period. Now, like I said, that's just all the exotics that we were allowed to play with and get footage of. How many new exotics there are coming in the Edge of Fate is currently still a mystery. In that same vein, let's take a look at all of the new legendary weapons that we were allowed to try out. First, we have Giver's Blessing, a 720 RPM kinetic auto rifle from the Kepler Destination. Aside from Chroma Rush, we don't currently have any 720 RPM kinetic autos in the game, so this is a welcome addition with its nice sound and its brand new origin trait specific to the Kepler destination weapons, where after aiming at an enemy for a short period of time, you load up a micro missile to be fired out as your next shot. This micro missile doesn't seem to have any range drop off either, making this weapon a lot more versatile at long ranges than a 720 auto would typically be, due to the fact that you can sling off rockets when far away. In my testing, you needed to be within about 60 meters from enemies to get the tracking to lock on for the micro missile. Next is the Last Thursday 390 RPM Strand pulse rifle, which is presumably a reference to the philosophical thought experiment known as Last Thursdayism, that suggests that everything in the universe, all your photos, memories, friends, family, everything, was created last Thursday, which is an amusing name for a weapon that is specific to a destination that currently has a time-manipulating black hole singularity tearing it apart. And yes, I only know about Last Thursdayism because that one Vsauce video I watched when I was 11, but that's besides the point. This one is fun because it is our first ever Strand 390 RPM pulse rifle, and it comes from Kepler, meaning that it also has the micro missile origin trait, with possible roles like Demolitionist and Frenzy, and the capability to get unraveling rounds. With it being a Strand weapon, this thing could be a workhorse. Sticking with the Kepler destination weapons, we have the Agape 257 RPM solar hand cannon, and that's right, it's another heavy burst frame firing 2 bullets with every trigger pull. Being from Kepler, this bad boy also has the micro missile trait, but to be completely honest, I wasn't really blown away by this hand cannon. It can roll with a brand new perk that functions a bit like jolting feedback, but for solar and scorching, with repeated shots against targets currently unafflicted by Scorch having Scorch applied to them. But other than that, it just feels like a very good but not great hand cannon. In the scout rifle territory, we have the 150 RPM Arc Sublimation scout rifle. This is actually our first 150 RPM Arc Scout since Season 4 of Destiny 2, all the way back in 2018, and being able to roll perks like Rapid Hit and Explosive Payload / Redirection, or hopefully some Arc-specific perks like Volt Shot or Jolting Feedback, fingers crossed, this thing could be half decent. That, or I'm just that in love with the micro missile feature on these Kepler destination weapons, I'm not entirely sure. Headed to the special ammo side of things, we have the Precipial Void 700 RPM shotgun, which to be completely honest, I feel very meh about. It's entirely possible that it could have some perk combinations that could make it absolutely nutty. We didn't get perk lists or info on all possible perk combos at the event, but it didn't really feel like it had anything special going for it. Sure, it can have the micro missile origin trait, being that it is from Kepler, but the thing about the micro missiles is that they consume a shot when you shoot the missile. So for something like an auto rifle with 40 bullets in the magazine and infinite reserves, that's a gigantic win. But for something like a special ammo shotgun with 5 in the mag and limited reserves, I feel like I would just rather use that bullet for the slug instead. The final Kepler destination weapon is the Ulterior Observation 600 RPM Stasis Machine Gun, which despite feeling good, was kind of a confusing addition to me, considering that we currently have a 600 RPM Stasis Machine Gun with some pretty nice stasis specific perks in the Qua Furor V right now. Not exactly sure if there will be any perks that make this one feel genuinely different and better than the Qua, but it would have to be a pretty big leap because I don't really see anyone eager to use the Qua right now anyway. But next on our list is the Mercury A kinetic bow, sporting a brand new high impact long bow frame, which actually makes this the first ever legendary bow that can shoot over penetrating arrows. Previously, if I'm not mistaken, this is a feature that was unique to the Wish Ender exotic bow, so it's pretty cool to have an over penetrating arrow option in a legendary form factor with the Mercury. How much use it will get, I'm unsure of, as being kinetic means it doesn't have access to any perks involving subclass verbs, but we'll see. Remaining in the kinetic slot, we have the Qua Nihilus 2 Strand 900 RPM SMG, which to be completely honest, I'm very meh about, considering that we just got the Mirror Imago from this episode of Heresy, which is the same RPM and frame with some already spectacular perks. If this thing can roll with Slice, then maybe it could be a decent primary ammo debuffing and tangle generating option, but other than that, I don't think this thing will find all that much use, at least not in my arsenal. Down to the heavy heavy slot is the Boom Slang 4FR, a 3-round burst arc linear fusion rifle. And whilst we do already have Storm Chaser from Duality to occupy that territory, this is the first ever 3-round burst arc linear fusion that can come with the Viced Stinger origin trait to add bullets to your magazine when landing shots, which is pretty nice for minimizing reloads during DPS phases to help your numbers get up a little bit higher. Staying in the heavy slot, we have the Aurora Dawn Wave Frame Stasis Sword, which, while being the first of its kind in that regard, will likely not be something to get all that excited about. Wave frames just aren't all that typically, and anytime we do have a sword DPS meta or a sword DPS boss, it's usually Vortex frames and Lament that people are typically gravitating towards. But moving back up to the top slot, we have a weapon that I am actually very excited about in the Lionfish 4FR Stasis Fusion Rifle, which can indeed roll Controlled Burst in the final column and Viced Stinger as an origin trait to make it a respectable damage option against tanky targets and champions. Fingers crossed that Chill Clip is a possibility in that third column, because if so, this thing would effectively become the stasis version of the currently well-performing Strand Scatter Signal. Up next is one of my favorite weapons from the playtest, the Mint Retrograde 200 RPM Strand Special Ammo Rocket Assisted Frame Pulse Rifle. No, that was not a typo or me misspeaking. This is a special ammo pulse rifle that shoots bursts of rockets. You get 6 ammo in the mag, and each trigger pull consumes 1 ammo to dish out 3 rockets. And if you get good with this weapon, you can really take advantage of the fact that it fires 3 separate projectiles per bullet to swing the weapon to other targets to have different rockets kill different enemies with the same burst. The ammo economy can feel a little bit rough on this weapon, but with new upcoming ways to build specifically into special ammo generation in conjunction with scavengers, I think this thing can fill a role adjacent to that currently filled by rocket sidearms. Needless to say, it's a very fun weapon. Next, we make our way to the energy slot for our first ever arc micro missile special ammo grenade launcher, the Theodolite. For anyone that's ever wanted to run Mountaintop alongside a kinetic, strand, or stasis primary ammo weapon, your dream is coming true in the Edge of Fate. In terms of meta, I don't know how powerful this weapon will truly be, as I am unaware of all of its perk options, but I do know for a fact that it can roll Reconstruction in column 1 and Rolling Storm in column 2, which could make it a good option for pulling it out to fire 2 missiles and getting some bolt charge stacks, and then pocketing it to auto load in the background with Reconstruction so that you can do it again on the next tanky enemy that you encounter. Up in the top slot, we have the Faustus Decline, a 360 RPM stasis sidearm that looks pretty nice with a beefy suppressor. Despite its good looking model though, I really don't see a PvE use case for this weapon. It feels fine, shoots fine, and sounds fine, but primary ammo sidearms in PvE just aren't that hot right now. It's perfect if you were trying to do a little James Bond vibe through a strike, but other than that, it'll likely take a backseat for most weapon selection loadouts. Moving back to special ammo energy weapons though, we have the Shoreline Dissident 140 RPM Void Sniper Rifle, which I'm not going to lie, this is probably one of my favorite looking weapons in the game. That chunky suppressor on the barrel is just so good looking. Unfortunately, I don't really see a use case for this weapon in most pieces of content, meaning that it will probably join the same pile with every other legendary sniper not currently named Supremacy or Succession. It is entirely possible that this weapon has some perks that will make it incredibly good, but I'm not getting my hopes up. But on the bright side, our next weapon is a brand new frame with the Fenutria Farah 100 RPM Spread Shot Hand Cannon. What does that mean? Imagine a shotgun had a kid that uses primary ammo, and that's the Spread Shot Hand Cannon frame. These things are absolutely, completely, and utterly useless from long ranges, but can definitely pack a punch at close range, just like a shotgun. To be honest though, I feel like the close range damage did need a little bit more love. I get that this is a primary ammo weapon, and we can't have its damage competing with that of a special ammo shotgun, but considering that you are giving up any and all range capabilities by using this thing, a little more love to what it is supposed to be good at would definitely be nice. Moving on, we have a brand new revision to a previously available weapon in the Stars and Shadow 340 RPM Solar Pulse Rifle. What's cool is that moving forward, anytime Bungie does a rehash to an old weapon by updating updating its perk pool and showing it some love, you'll see that noted underneath the weapon name with the Rev 1 next to Pulse Rifle. However, like before, this gun felt very okay. Not great, not bad, just okay. Mine did have Rapid Hit and Desperado, which is a good feeling combo, but I'm hoping that this bad boy can roll Incandescent or the new Solar Scorching perk, otherwise I just can't see myself using it all that much. Next up is another brand new frame in the Pure Recollection 62 RPM Void Heavy Burst Slug Shotgun, which fires in a 2-round burst for every 1 pull of the trigger. This thing is really cool, but really hard to use. Given that it is a slug shotgun, you obviously want to aim for the head for that nice precision damage, but controlling the recoil of the weapon after the first shot to make sure that the second round of the burst also hits is definitely a bit tricky. Even in the firing range, I was having a tough time landing both rounds of the burst consecutively on targets that were standing completely still. This is going to be a weapon that will require a lot of investment to get good with the recoil pattern and control, but if you do, it'll hit like a truck. Up next is a brand new Solar Rocket Sidearm in Returned Memory, which can roll with things like Lead from Gold, Incandescent, One for All, and the brand new solar perk that applies Scorch to unscorched targets after repeated hits. My first thought seeing this rocket sidearm was that I already have Aberrant Action with Heal Clip and Incandescent and probably won't be interested in it. However, depending on the perks that will be available on Returned Memory, it is entirely possible that it will have some perk combinations that allow it to do some things that Aberrant can't. In that regard, we'll just have to wait and see. Moving on is the Solemn Remembrance, an amusing name for a hand cannon that shares a model with the Not Forgotten. This one sits at 140 RPM with a stasis affinity, but unfortunately doesn't excite me all that much. It can roll with Firefly, which is definitely fun for a stasis hand cannon. However, I struggle to get excited with stasis primary ammo weapons due to the fact that I feel their stasis specific perks are not nearly as impactful like those of other elemental perks like Incandescent, Destabilizing Rounds, and Volt Shot. The biggest desire for any stasis weapon is to have Chill Clip on it, but putting Chill Clip on a primary ammo weapon would just be disgustingly overpowered. So I honestly feel like Bungie needs to come up with some idea for a stasis primary ammo weapon perk that can feel as nice as its light counterparts, for me to be able to get excited about stasis primary ammo weapons the same way that I do about their light counterparts. Up next, we have a brand new Trials of Osiris Strand 450 RPM auto rifle with the Auric Disabler. Similar to a lot of the other weapons on this list, whether or not I use this one is going to be largely perk specific. Strand primary ammo weapons run into a less egregious version of the issue that stasis primary ammo weapons face, and that their subclass centric perks aren't quite as exciting as their light counterparts. But Slice could be okay on this thing in a PvE setting, but at the same time, we already have that on the support frame Adamantite from Heresy, so I don't know, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Another brand new Trials of Osiris weapon arriving is the Orius Neutralizer Spread Shot Kinetic Hand Cannon. Just like its solar brother in the Phenutria Farah, I think this weapon could be extremely exciting and have genuinely good applications for close range builds in PvE if its close range damage could be buffed up just a bit. Usage of this weapon will also be largely perk specific, but maybe it's intended to be more of a PvP frame anyway. But my only specialty when it comes to PvP is dying, so please don't ask me for advice for anything related to that. Sticking with Trials of Osiris weapons, we have another revised weapon with Aishas Embrace, which could potentially excite me as a PvE player if it has the possibility of rolling with the stabilizing rounds and maybe something like Rapid Hit or Repulsor Brace. Otherwise, I don't think I'll be using this weapon all that much in PvE settings, unfortunately. Another revised Trials of Osiris weapon that I could potentially be a little bit more jazzed about though is the Forgiveness Arc Sidearm, but if and only if it has the capabilities to roll with perks like Volt Shot, Jolting Feedback, or Rolling Storm. And even so, I'm not the biggest fan of primary ammo sidearms in PvE, so this one is a bit of a stretch. Again though, maybe it's just supposed to be more catered for PvP players given that it comes from Trials of Osiris, so we'll just have to wait and see. The final revised Trials of Osiris weapon arriving in the Edge of Fate is the Unwavering Duty 450 RPM Solar Machine Gun, which hopefully will be able to come with perks like Reconstruction and Killing Tally, or Incandescent, or the new Scorch from Consistent Damage perk. Even so though, machine guns are kind of whatever in the current state of PvE, where players are typically opting for rockets and grenade launchers instead. So likely that I'm not going to use this one too frequently. Like I said before, these are just some of the weapons arriving in the new Edge of Fate expansion. To see all of the weapons coming, you'll just have to play it when it releases on July 15th. And if you want to see more early Edge of Fate content, like a preview of the new exotic armor pieces, a run of the very first campaign mission, or an interview I did with game director Tyson Green, be sure to check out my channel for all of that. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.